Okay, so the partial eclipse has just begun. I'm just going to videotape that for a couple of minutes, only a couple of moments. While I've been sitting here, I've been watching Saturn and Jupiter slowly make their way across the sky, following the moon over there. And right behind the moon, theoretically, the Milky Way is there, but it's completely obscured by the light. We've got a few light clouds in the sky, and down towards the horizon there are some. I'm hoping they're not too heavy. Last night when it got dark, there wasn't a cloud to be seen. Hi everybody, so I found this spot up in the hills on some BLM land where I have a view of the horizon, so I am going to try and do the lunar eclipse. It's going to be somewhere in this space over here. Have to get the exact coordinates later on, but anyway, so I'm up in this spot here. It's not anything special, I'm right by the side of the road, but I'm on BLM land, so it's good enough. It's not private property, so should be fine. Alright, more later. Okay, this is the basic setup I'm using. I've got a SkyGuider Pro on my old Gitzo tripod, and I've got my Nikon Z7 with a 300mm f4 and a 1.4 converter. And I'm probably going to also do a DX size on the film instead of full frame. That'll give me something around 600mm if I do it at DX. I can also crop in camera if I do full frame, it doesn't really matter. And the SkyGuider Pro star tracker, and I'm just going to set it to the lunar tracking for tonight instead of celestial. And then it's got some weights to counterbalance it so that it's even when it's tracking, so it doesn't have any extra weight on it. So that's the setup. It probably weighs about 15 to 20 pounds, but it's kind of awkward to move because it's got different points of balance on it. Anyway, I'll set that up, light to the north, and that'll be good. Yeah, so I'm just going to point it to the north. I'm not going to do a polar alignment. I just need it to do about 2-second exposures, and I want to just use a lower ISO rather than 6400 or 3200. So I'm just going to be using it at a low ISO and make sure it's level and it's pointing roughly to the north, to the pole star, and it should be good to go. Don't need anything more accurate than that for this. If I wanted to do it for the stars, I'd have to do a polar alignment so that it's pretty much accurate. Then I can do 30-60 second exposures, and if I do a really good accurate one, I could do maybe 2-minute exposures. Anyway, so I'm all set up, and I put everything together to make sure it's going to work. I'm going to test everything out a little bit later once it's darker and the moon's come up. So I'm going to make myself some dinner first before I do that testing. And it's always good to try and test this stuff out before it's completely dark, because running around in the dark trying to figure out which little piece of gear you forgot back in the car is really frustrating. So I usually try to set it up before I leave home, or tonight I'm just going to set it up outside the van and make sure it's all working, and do a test shot on the moon, make sure it's tracking correctly, or relatively. Okay, so here's the setup. I've got everything ready. I got my little controller here. There's the moon in the back there, and here we go. And I've got it set for 5 seconds just to eliminate wobble. Okay, it's about 1:50, and I just took my first shot. So everything's set up. I'm just gonna get it turned back on for the next one. So here's the moon. Here's the trackers all set up, and there's the target up there. So I'll be out here for the next few hours, and can't see much. There's a city of Red Bluff way over there, and then it's pretty much quiet except for the road noise every now and then. Alright, I'll get the next shot going. Okay, so in the last 20-30 minutes the sky has cleared up a little bit. There's a little bit of, I guess, moisture still to give a little bit of that glow on the edge, but we're almost at full eclipse now, and it's cleared up right over the area I need it to be. So there's the city, and you can just see the faint glow up there. Let's see if I can bring it up. It's not even able to focus on it. There it is. Yeah. So that's what it looks like on the screen, and I've been bracketing like 5 stops, 2 on each side, to try to make sure I've got a good exposure range to choose from. Alright, I gotta get back to the last view before the eclipse goes. Okay, so we're on the other side of the full eclipse, and the moon is now out of the clouds again, so I'll just keep taking a few more shots. So it's cleared up a little bit, and looks like the dawn is just breaking over there behind. So almost done for the day. Alright, good morning everybody. Yeah, so it's been a crazy day so far. I got up at about 1:15, watched the the lunar eclipse happen. It started, let's see, about over that bush there, and it went over to about here. So over about three and a half hours or so. It was touch and go at one point. The clouds that you can see now, they all started coming in, but right as the total eclipse happened, it cleared up for about 20 minutes, and then the moon just disappeared into the clouds over there and dropped behind those hills that are just getting some light on them now. And then on top of that, we had just a spectacular sunrise. You can tell with the clouds up there, or maybe you can't. Yeah. So these clouds gave us something that was pretty cool. Let me get that. So something like that. So we got a lunar eclipse on one side and a spectacular sunrise on the other. So it's a pretty good day so far. Yeah, so I'm gonna finish packing up all my gear, and then I am gonna head out and head home. So home is several hours away, so I will see you guys on the other side. I want to look at some of the planning steps one might take and locations that you can go to and how you can find out that information. What I use is the timeanddate.com website. They have information about the lunar eclipses and the solar eclipses that are happening, and they give you a map like this. I'm just going to zoom in slightly, which shows you the darker it is. In the darkest area you'll see the full eclipse, and then in lighter areas you'll see maybe some of the eclipse, it depends. And they give you a little bit of information. I'm on the west coast of the United States here in California, so if I zoom in on that, you can see that I'm not going to see the total eclipse, I'm going to see a partial eclipse here. The reason it's partial is because by the time the end of the eclipse is happening, the moon will have already gone below the horizon. But based on the timing, we were able to see the total eclipse part of the eclipse happening. So you can find out the time that you need to be out in the field and what your locations are going to be, what kind of locations you need, just by looking at the information they give you. So the eclipse started at 1:47 a.m. and it was going to be at 190 degrees, and then it's going to end at about 7 a.m. here, but by 7 a.m. it's full daylight and you wouldn't be able to see the eclipse anymore. But it goes from 193 degrees all the way over to about 240, 250 degrees. So you need something that shows you sort of, in that case, the southwest view and that you can watch the moon go through. And then the other thing that tells you is you want to have something that's going to be no high mountains or something like that. So when you look at the 23-degree altitude, or at the point where it's the maximum eclipse, it's going to be at 10 degrees. You want to make sure you've got a view that's going to give you at least 10 degrees to see that. So what I did was I drove out of the Bay Area, went north, because we often have fog in the winter, in the summer I mean, so I didn't want to have the skies be obscured during the eclipse. So I just went north a little bit and found a high hill that I could look and see the whole horizon. Alright, there are a few useful tools to have with you when you're out photographing at night, whether you're doing star photography or moon photography. They make things a little bit easier. First thing is, with your phone, there's some really useful apps on the phone that you can have. So one that I use is PS Align. So PS Align is an app that allows you to find out where the pole star is going to be. It also gives you your latitude and longitude, so you can set your star tracker up. It's got to have the right latitude settings on it, and then it'll tell you where to look for the pole star. So I use this quite often just so I get an idea exactly where the pole star is going to be. Next thing that's useful is Guide GPS. This is an app you can get on your phone. I have the paid for version, so I may have more options than you have in the free one, but it gives you overlays that show you the BLM land, and you can put markers in for places you want to stop at. I used it to find some areas like these wildlife areas outside along I-5 to give me some ideas of where I might want to set up. And when I was up in Oregon, I was outside of Bend and near this town of Mitchell. And so I just had a few markers set up for some campsite areas in the national forest up there, so in the BLM land up there, and for where I wanted to photograph. So it gives you these overlays that show you where there's public lands and private lands. So that's quite a useful one as well. Right, then another app that I use quite often is the Compass app that comes with the iPhone. In this case, you can just, I had it set to point to true north, and then you can use it to align yourself where you need to look for the moon or the Milky Way or something. So for instance, when I was taking shots of the moon, I just used this by the side of the road to figure out exactly where I was going to be. If you remember, I wanted to be between 190 and about 250, so I needed that southwest view. So this gives you a quick idea of where it's going to be just from the phone. and so that's also quite useful. Alright, some other tools that are useful to have as well are a remote trigger. I actually have two kinds. I have this Cam Ranger, which is a bit more sophisticated. It runs an app off of your phone. It sets up a little Wi-Fi hotspot, and then you can use that. If you're doing a lot of photographs at night, you don't want to be standing the whole time. This is useful because you can just do it from your phone. For what I was doing the other night, I just used this. It plugs into your camera, and you can just trigger it with the button. It also has other options too, but I was just using it for triggering it when I needed to trigger it. So that was pretty useful. Another thing that's good at night is a headlamp, and one that gives you red as well is good. So you at night, if you're shooting the moon, it doesn't really matter. But for shooting stars, if you have your night visions better, using the red light is quite helpful. And this is a Tactica from Petzl, and there's I don't know how many different kinds of these that you can find, but this is the one I have. I can put a link in the description. Tactica Core from Petzl. And finally, the trusty Leatherman. Got a few tools on it, so I use it for tightening things that come loose. Make sure everything's locked down. So these are useful to have with you. Just throw it in your bag, and you can carry it around with you. So there's a few things that I use just above and beyond the camera and tripod and star tracker. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the show, and it's great seeing you all, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.